So the Gacha Game revenue chart has just came in. Now I'm literally making this video on the 1st of June. If you don't know, there's a post brought out by a user called Numberlog on Reddit who pretty much compiles all the revenue for the month made by literally every Gacha game that is playable. And this is a big thing that people look forward to. If you've been in the Gacha community quite a lot, then you know that a lot of people enjoy, looking at this kind of stuff. And the one that's just released is for the previous month, which is May 2024. Now this one has been particularly anticipated for because there are a lot of new Gacha games that have come out recently and they have been massive. Now one of them obviously is Wuthering Waves. If you've been on this channel for quite a while, then you'll know that I make a ton of content on Wuthering Waves and that it's been a very popular game at the moment. I mean, if we just look at the YouTube algorithm, videos have been doing great for literally every single content creator that's making content on Wuthering Waves, meaning that there's a lot of people interested in it. And also I made a video in the past where I went into Google Trends too to look up the overall interest in the game compared to games like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star, which have been super popular over in the West and just globally overall, to find that Wuthering Waves is actually doing extremely well and even, outperforming that. So it was super interesting to finally get this chart to tell us how much revenue all of these games are making, including Wuthering Waves. So obviously this is an extremely long chart. Like, I'm not even going to go through all of these. I mean, there are so many games on here. But again, we've got games like Eversoul and stuff like that down at the bottom, making only around like 90,000, 30,000, 20,000, 10,000. I mean, Love Live literally died the other day, which is kind of sad, but they last made 17,000. So we can see the lower end of games here, which don't do as good. Maybe that's due to advertising, or maybe the game just isn't as good. And yeah, so we got all of these lower games, which I will just kind of skip. Now, there are some interesting ones down here. We've got stuff like Brown Dust, which is a game that's been making a lot of news, especially in the gacha space. So, I mean, it's doing pretty good. It made 300,000 more last month, which is amazing. And one of the most interesting games down here is Punishing Grey Raven. Now, this is the Chinese version, and they have lost around about $600,000. Now, obviously, that isn't great for any game, but I find it super interesting because Punishing Grey Raven, if you don't know, is made by Gacha Games, the creators of Wuthering Waves. Now, I thought maybe with the release of Wuthering Waves and the overall popularity of it, people might have been checking out Punishing Grey Raven and giving it a go too, because, they enjoy Wuthering Waves, so surely Gacha Games makes a good game too, like Punishing Grey Raven, which apparently, according to the fan base, I mean, I've barely played any of it, but apparently it's an extremely good game, and I definitely recommend that you go check it out. But just from an outsider perspective, and not really knowing much about the game, maybe they had some big event on before, so that's why they've lost a lot of money. So maybe this is their usual amount, or maybe it's even more than they usually get. So again, 1,380,000 isn't a bad amount of money at all, especially compared to all the ones below it. So again, it's nothing to be, worried about. And then if we keep going up, we've got other games, we've got Azure Lane, other popular Gacha games out there. And then we get to the final, like 20 of them. So around in 17th place is Reverse 1999, which was a new game that came out, a few months ago. And it has actually done amazingly. I mean, this has made $6 million more this month, which is amazing. I think they had an event going on, I'm pretty sure. So again, that's super good for Reverse 1999. I mean, personally, it's not my kind of game to play, but I feel like there's a lot of people that like the overall style of it and the overall feel of the game. So again, that's super good for them. And then just above them in 16th place, I think it is the global version of Wuthering Waves, which made $11 million. Now that for like a first time, just starting up is actually amazing. Like already having the same amount of revenue as games like Reverse 1999 and even some other popular ones down here like Azure Lane. I mean, there was the Jujutsu Kaisen game, which apparently was pretty popular. Persona. We've got all of these big name games. And Wuthering Waves, especially the global version, has been keeping up with it and is, in the top 20, which is just amazing. Now, if we keep going up as well, AFK Journey is still doing pretty strong. It's lost quite a bit of money because I think all of the sponsors have died down. If you didn't know, there was a lot of content creators, promoting this game, including, some extremely popular ones like Tectone and, the usual people that, take on these kind of sponsors. And people were, like, super happy with this game. I mean, it's not a bad game at all. But I think now that they've, slowed down on the sponsors and pushing it out so much, I think less people are playing it. But 12 million is still good, and it's still better than Wuthering Waves Global. So, they're doing pretty decently too. And then just above is the Chinese version of Wuthering Waves, which is in 12th place, making $13,800,000, which obviously there wasn't any revenue last month, so this is an amazing amount of money. And it's pretty much keeping up with Fate Go. If you don't know, Fate Go in Japan and China is an extremely popular game. I mean, tons of people play it, tons of people spend money on the game as well. I mean, it's definitely one of the games that a lot of people wail on. And Wuthering Waves making pretty much the same amount of money as Fate Grand Order is pretty insane. And I know Fate Grand Order is kind of, falling off a little bit. But again, being just in the kind of top 15 area, especially in China, because usually the Chinese audience will do better than the global audience, which is down here. And it's good to see that, the revenue is actually fairly similar, and it's a good sign because as we can see further up, a lot of the successful games, especially Honkai Star and Genshin Impact, both the global and the Chinese revenue are pretty similar, whereas there's a lot of games where the Chinese is really popular, but the global isn't so much. So it's good to see that Wuthering Waves have like a similar kind of revenue, meaning that both sides of the community like really enjoy this game. And it seems like the targeting to the West is actually working, and people are, playing the game over in America and places like that, with a little bit of help from all the content creators making content on there. Now, just above, we're into the top 10 kind of zone here. We've got Nikkei. Now, Nikkei has been super popular recently, especially if you've been on Twitter. There has been a lot of new updates and events, which people have really, really enjoyed. And yeah, I mean, I tried to download the update the other day and it had about 7 gigabytes to download, which means they're packing in a ton of game modes and stuff. I mean, they got some kind of like Vampire Survivors game like going on there, which was really fun. And, it's very unique because we don't really see that with a lot of gacha games, making actual proper like full games, not just like, oh, do this and get a reward. Like make a proper game that I can play and get immersed in a gacha game. I mean, it's just unheard of, and Nikkei is doing that, and it seems like they're spending their revenue money well into developing stuff like this. And yeah, they're just doing great overall. Now we're into 8th and 7th, which is Genshin Impact, which is in both of the regions. It seems like Genshin Impact ain't doing too hot here. I mean, if we look, Chinese, they made 82 million last month. Now this was due to the Arlecchino banner. And the Arlecchino banner was super popular despite, some of the problems that people had with it. But now the Arlecchino isn't out and we're in a little bit of a dry patch, especially in May. And I mean, I think Arlecchino was still out in a little bit of May. So that is kind of surprising that they've lost this amount of money. But yeah, Genshin Impact has lost $60 million, which is quite a lot compared to a lot of the other companies, A lot of these are losing like 5 million. Maybe a million. I mean, Nikkei just staying at the same here. They haven't even lost anything. But Genshin Impact losing $60 million on the Chinese server is, a massive, massive indicator for what's to come to the game if they don't change anything. And hopefully we will get a change. And, this revenue chart could be easily restored. And the same goes for the global here. They lost maybe a little bit more than 10 million. So again, they're both losing money. And yeah, this has put them down in about 7th and 8th position, which is pretty unusual because usually we see Genshin Impact right at the top in the #1 spot. And we can see that the Chinese version has dropped down 6 places, which means that it's been knocked off from #2, I think it is. And also the global version of Genshin Impact has dropped down by 4 places. So again, yeah, not very good at all. And then above Genshin Impact, we've got Love and Deep Space. Now, I don't really play this game at all because I'm a guy. I don't play, these kind of games. It's a little bit weird for me, but again, it seems like a lot of people are enjoying this game too, and it's not really talked about much in the community, which is kind of surprising seeing as how much money it makes. But again, they seem to be killing it, and they've only lost 3 million, so even though this is a loss, this is pretty decent for them. And then above them at number 5 is Honkai Star Rail, the global version of Honkai Star Rail, which did lose some money because obviously we've had a little bit of a slow patch. Obviously Penacony's over, we've got Boot Hill now, and the algorithm just isn't hitting as hard, especially whenever it comes to YouTube and stuff. But I'm sure whenever we have some new cool characters coming out and some new story and new events and stuff, this will pick back up again. I mean, they've lost less than $10 million, which isn't too bad, especially if you compare it to Genshin Impact losing 60 million. But yeah, again, this is just because the story is slowed down and that the characters have kind of stagnated, and we're just looking for some new content now. So as soon as we get new content, I'm pretty sure this will be better, and we will see this in the green probably next month. And then above that, which is quite surprising, is actually Arknights. Now, I'm pretty sure maybe they had some kind of event because I couldn't really tell why this randomly went up. But yeah, they've gained almost $30 million, which is insane. Compared to last year, they're making $8 million. They're now up to $35.8 million, which is kind of insane. And yeah, it seems like they're doing pretty good. Now, can they sustain this? Probably not. They'll probably drop down to 8 million again whenever all of these events and stuff ends. Now, again, I don't really know what's going on in Arknights. Maybe there's some massive event going on. But again, it's cool to see them doing well. I think the community isn't the nicest, but still, it's nice to see a game doing good. And I think it's important to note as well that this is only the Chinese version of the game. Now, I don't know if that's anything different because the global is all the way down here and didn't really gain an absurd amount. So maybe an event happened in China or something to increase this. But yeah, it seems like they're doing pretty decently. And then in 3rd place, which is actually quite surprising and, maybe is a bit of an underrated game that's come out here, is Solo Leveling Arise, which is a new game based off the manhwa or the anime or whatever you watched. But yeah, it made 39 million, putting it at 3rd place, which is absolutely insane, especially seeing as this came out probably like a week or 2 before Wuthering Waves. So again, they've had a whole month to cook, to be fair, so that's why they are much higher than Wuthering Waves. And to be fair, I think a lot of people just enjoyed the game overall, and there was a lot of good advertising for the game. I mean, we've had a lot of content creators playing it. I mean, I saw Vulcan's videos on this. He got a ton of views. So it seems like a lot of people are interested in this game. And especially seeing as this is the global version. This isn't the Chinese version. I don't even know if they have a Chinese version. Maybe the Chinese players play on this. But yeah, this is the global version and it's so high. Now, if I'm right in saying this, and China is involved in this global thing, because say if I was to combine Honkai style Chinese and Honkai style global, then, you know, they would have a revenue of almost like 90 million. So again, this could be just because the 2 regions are joined up, and if we split them, they would be much lower down on the list. But again, it's still really good to see it doing this well. 39 million is amazing. And even if it is one server, 39 million can really make a difference to the studio, and they can probably improve this game even further, because I've heard it's a pretty decent game. So in 2nd place is Naruto Mobile. Now, I don't know anything about this game. I will be just glossing over it quickly, but it did make $46,800,000, which is absolutely insane, and is over 16 million more than what they made last month. So again, they've probably done something pretty massive there. And I have seen a few of the animations like on Twitter and stuff about the game, but again, I don't know anything about it, and I think it's Chinese only, so that's probably why I don't know much about it. But yeah, it seems to be killing it, and yeah, that's why it's in 2nd place. And then finally at number 1 is Honkai Star, and as I said, we're in a little bit of a dry patch at the moment. So, you know, the revenue is actually down, but it's still at 52.3 million, which is insane and much better than a lot of these people. Honkai Star is doing super well. And yeah, whenever we get more content in the future that players can play, then we're going to see this revenue picking up, and it's going to be pretty insane. But yeah, overall, this is a pretty surprising revenue chart, to be honest. I wasn't really expecting Solo Leveling or Arknights to be up there, and especially above Genshin Impact, which is kind of insane. And it seems like Genshin Impact really needs to get something together before, you know, they get even lower on the list, because this revenue is dropping dramatically. And if they don't release some good events or some good quality of life updates soon, this is just gonna get even worse. So again, Wuthering Waves doing amazingly. I mean, 13 million for only being out for about half a month. I mean, probably, you know, it's just over 2 weeks, so I don't even know if it's half a month yet. And making 13 million already in China is insane. And yeah, if this was over a month and say we had to double this because it's half a month, then this would put them, you know, about where Genshin Impact is, which is pretty insane. And hopefully we can see this improve on the next month. It seems like overall that Gacha Games is doing a very good job at enticing players to come over. I mean, I said about advertising was a massive issue with Punishing Grey Raven, and it seems like they're advertising right because, you know, they've got a lot of sales recently. So again, super good for Wuthering Waves, and I can't wait to see it next month. But yeah, that's about all I got for this video. And if you were shocked by any of these games being so high, then let me know down in the comments, because I really want to know what games you're interested in, because there are many on this list that I've never even heard of, or, you know, never even, you know, thought about playing. So maybe some of you play some of these and are quite happy for how it's doing at the moment. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, that's about all I got. That's all. See ya.
Hands up, embrace who you wanna be. We're reaching heights and seeing